point, I'll come in and give my interpretation of what the question is and direct it to whoever. So, if you could, I think we can probably hear you from down here. So if you could stand up when you want to answer, I'll give you the call. If you can stand up, and then we can see who wants to answer the question from the panel. Okay, so it's over to you.
What do you see as opportunities or mechanisms, if any, for a possible greater cooperation between the diaspora, particularly alienated Tamil diaspora, and the government of Sri Lanka to ensure the resettlement, the political rights and the reconstruction within the national aid needed in Sri Lanka?
Have you got a particular person you want to ask?
No, I'm happy for anyone to respond.
Okay.
That's it.
I really thought you were looking at David. And I was smiling and nodding. I think that the role of the Sri Lankan diaspora, not simply the Sri Lankan Tamil diaspora, but the Sri Lankan diaspora, with respect to the government of Sri Lanka, is extremely important. And in the same way, I think that the role of Australians of Sri Lankan background or of people like myself who in Sri Lanka is sort of de facto second home, that we continue to speak about and continue to write directives and so on.
Any other comments?
If I could just add very quickly, there is already internationally amongst the diaspora the establishment of a council to address this particular issue, to essentially represent the Tamils of Sri Lanka who can no longer represent themselves in any meaningful way. And I think that council will be the representative or negotiating body should the opportunity for such an negotiation arise.
Could you hear us up the back? If we don't, that's okay. We don't have to come to the microphone. Right. Okay, thank you. Okay. Questions? Yes.
My name is Malin. I'm going to do my question for Jamie Kingsbury. You mentioned about Manic Farm and about Homeland Theory. I would like to ask him when Homeland Theory is debunked and the Tamils have accepted their return as free, lived peacefully together, why is he propagating the Homeland Theory in Australia for Tamils?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you just...
He wants to know why you're still propagating what he suggests is a homeland.
You mentioned homeland, Tamil homeland, dislocated,
A Tamil.
dislocated the people and from their homeland.
Okay, when I've only had the opportunity to visit Sri Lanka once, and it was the beginning of the war, and because of various circumstances, I can't return. So, but when I was there, it was very clear at that time that ethnic Tamils were being moved out, forcibly moved
that's a right that was accepted in general as a principle by the UN General Assembly as long ago as 1960, nearly 50 years ago. Now, by definition, that's a right that has to be exercised by negotiation, by agreement, because it inevitably affects the rights of others. But the lesson of history, if I may continue, is this: that where attempts to assert and exercise that right are met with attempts to quell it by force, that never works. It only leads to more violence. Where attempts are made to meet it by negotiation and compromise, it can have a positive outcome for all concerned. And the case of Aceh, which Damien mentioned, with all the caveats of the dissimilarity between the two cases, nevertheless illustrates that general point. And I think the speakers who have warned that this conflict is bound to enter a violent phase again in the future unless there is some form of justice in respect of that right to self-determination, I think strike the right note.
No, I won't take follow-up questions, but if after everybody else has had a chance, if you want to come back with a second question, you'll be very welcome to then.
Yeah, I'd like to ask this question from Jay. Now, we have been telling that the attempts to negotiate had failed, therefore they have given opportunity for the struggle to come in. What I would like to know is the most significant negotiation took place under the Norwegian peace agreement. Could you please let me know who walked away from the Norwegian peace negotiation?
Why don't you tell me?
Yeah, I want to find out because you say that negotiations failed in Sri Lanka, in dealing with Tamil militants or Tamil terrorists. But the Norwegian sponsored agreement, the peace talks, were foiled by the Tamil Tiger terrorists. So can you please tell that the negotiations were always not a failure on the part of the government, but the most significant peace treaty was abrogated by, the peace discussions are abrogated by the Tamil Tiger?
Okay, thank you. Right, we'll just wait, please. Do you want to say anything?
Well,
there?
just briefly, I mean, that is, as the speaker I think well knows, a caricature of the situation as recounted in the view of the Norwegian government, who as the mediator are in a position to know. This is presumably why the Norwegian Foreign Minister, Erik Solheim, is public enemy number one among the Sudanese people in Colombo. But the fact is, the fact that one mediation effort does not succeed does not lessen the responsibility on all the parties to carry on negotiating. Now, there's an important principle which is enshrined in the Geneva Conventions that if a war is underway, civilians enjoy the status of protected persons. That is in no way abrogated by the various versions which are recounted by various parties to the conflict of why those negotiations broke down. But the interesting thing is the justification given out by the Sri Lankan government for doing that is always based on the war on terrorism. That justifies any form of behaviour towards a non-state armed group or what they take to be its supporters. And what I would suggest is that it was a highly unfortunate coincidence of timing between that particular mediation effort and the announcement by the Bush administration of the global war on terrorism. So, for example, the lopsidedness already built in to the political situation was exacerbated when the LTTE were declared to be a terrorist group by the European Union, so they could no longer speak in their own right to any European Union country, just to take one example. So there will be a much more nuanced explanation for the failure of that